most recent tournament on the channel pitted 100 N64 games against each other in another epic fight. Like the SNES tournament before it, Zelda dominated, with Ocarina of Time besting even the great Super Mario 64 by a large margin. Clearly, the Legend of Zelda series holds a legendary status in gaming's long history. And given the results of both tournaments, a poll I did a while back, and my genuine love of the Zelda series, I am very happy to say that I will soon be working on a comprehensive history of the Legend of Zelda series. Collaborating with me will be channel regulars Bacon Mob and Yoshi King, who will help contribute to the script and voiceovers. So in light of that, this video shall serve two purposes. First, to explain why The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time is the greatest N64 game, and secondly, to give a sort of preview of that project. So without further ado, I'd like to once again turn things over to Bacon Mob, whose prose will give you all an idea of what is to come with that project. Take it away, James!
In the mid-90s, the Legend of Zelda series was just starting to mature into a full-fledged franchise, with an overarching timeline, recurring world elements to flesh out, and established tropes and themes. After the first game began a trend of open-ended, non-linear games on the NES, the first sequel dabbled in some more action RPG-oriented fare, before A Link to the Past would tighten up the mechanics of the first game and flesh out the story and game world. After the side project that was Link's Awakening on the Game Boy, the Zelda team's next project would be their most ambitious yet. Picking up on the origin story told in A Link to the Past's manual, they decided to delve even further into the Kingdom of Hyrule's past. Their next game would adapt the legend of what was known as the Imprisoning War, a struggle between good and evil which resulted in the thief Ganondorf acquiring the power of the gods and transforming into the King of Evil. This tale would establish how the Triforce, Ganondorf, Link, and the Princess Zelda would forever be tied by destiny after the events told within. But at the same time, the first 3D entry in the Legend of Zelda franchise pioneered a great many mechanics and game design methods that would become so commonplace, they practically became the de facto standard for three-dimensional action video games for years to come. On top of all this, Ocarina of Time managed to convey a sense of atmosphere and immersion through its imagery and music that no entry in the series, or any game from Nintendo, had ever managed before. Due to all of these qualities and more, it immediately became a staple of the Nintendo 64's library, but was also a trailblazer in video game design, a cultural benchmark of the late 90s, and one of the most influential interactive 3D titles of all time. Ocarina of Time was an early innovator in two major mechanics of 3D games. First was lock-on targeting, called the Z targeting system, as pressing the Z button would focus the camera on whatever object of interest you were closest to. It allowed Link to circle, strafe, or jump around opponents with ease, focus in on enemies, and change up his tactics with little effort from the player. This was considered a revolutionary innovation in video game mechanics, as it solved a fundamental problem in 3D game design, bringing the same tight controls players expected from 2D games into a 3D space. Another innovation that Zelda's N64 entry brought to the table was context-sensitive buttons. The A button was used as a universal action button, with the game's interface indicating what it did based on the current situation. For example, while targeting an enemy, Link could jump to the side, do a backflip, roll to avoid attacks, or perform a jumping slash, all with the same button. This was another fundamental innovation for 3D console games, as it allowed a far greater variety of actions with a limited number of inputs compared to a PC. Meanwhile, the C buttons were used as slots for secondary items, allowing players to customize their toolset and avoid bringing up the inventory as often. This removed the option for a player-controlled camera like Mario 64. Instead, the game's AI would intelligently move the camera based on the environment, and the Z button would center the camera behind Link if there was nothing around to target. Miyamoto described the camera in Ocarina of Time as being world-centric, as opposed to Mario 64's player-centric camera. In addition to its gameplay and camera innovations, Ocarina of Time was a pioneer in game world design as well. Miyamoto originally had the idea of a hub world in Ganon's castle, similar in structure to Super Mario 64, but eventually they instead made the central hub into a massive field connecting all of the locations. This drove home the sense of scale, and the experience of exploring a massive interconnected world better than any previous 3D console title, and many previous game worlds felt disparate and fragmented in comparison. Before the reveal of Hyrule Field, however, the game allows you to pal around in Kokiri Forest, learning the basics of the controls and combat, and throwing some puzzles your way in the game's first dungeon, the Great Deku Tree. Since Ocarina of Time introduced so many new concepts, this training area was a clever design. It also drove home even more the scale of adventure that Link sets out on, as he enters Hyrule Field for the first time and is greeted by a sweeping, high-energy call to adventure that subtly references the field theme of the original NES game. Thanks to a dynamic soundtrack, this theme would change based on the situation, whether a relaxing break by the riverside, or a vicious battle. Koji Kondo's musical sensibilities continued to evolve with the series, and he elected to draw from more inspirations than ever before thanks to the sampling capabilities of the N64's sound chip. Dungeon themes were more subdued and atmospheric, making use of percussion, synth, and vocal chants to create a real sense of immersion. The titular ocarina was used as an item in the game, as Link would learn songs to trigger events or solve puzzles. Some of these songs were in turn part of the game's soundtrack, a very clever idea. Returning songs like Zelda's Lullaby were accompanied by new classics like the Spanish guitar-flavored Gerudo Valley or the country twang of Lon Lon Ranch. Featuring a day and night system, the world felt truly alive, as if its residents led their own lives outside of Link's quest. Many characters offered side quests or mini-games like fishing or archery. The trading game concept returned from Link's Awakening, leading players around Hyrule and fleshing out the characters and world as a whole. Dungeon design evolved as well, expanding on the 2D games in both mechanics and atmosphere. Larger environments, rooms spanning multiple floors, and everything from twisting narrow corridors to sprawling vestibules and antechambers housing colossal statues, or massive caverns containing lava pits and bottomless drops. Each dungeon has a unique theme and feel, evoking mystery and wonder through their design, puzzles, and music. Locations varied from a haunted forest mansion to a deep underground temple within a volcano, and even the inside of a giant fish. Puzzles tested players' spatial awareness and spanned multiple areas or floors, which compounded the sense you were exploring a large interconnected space and not just a series of rooms. When it came to its story, Ocarina of Time was a significant step up from previous titles as well. The tale of how Ganondorf acquired the Triforce and how Link became chosen by destiny to defeat him is told in epic fashion, with many twists and turns along the way. Cutscenes in the game were rendered in-engine instead of using pre-rendered video, as was the standard at the time. This was to eliminate loading times and ensure a smooth transition between gameplay and story. It allowed for more exposition than Nintendo fans were used to, and it let cutscenes be changed during development more easily, as the entire scene didn't need to be pre-rendered again. Ocarina of Time's story has a positively epic scale, spanning not only the massive kingdom of Hyrule, but the expanse of time itself. The game isn't afraid to deal with themes of growing up, loss, death, or regret, albeit in more subtle, thematic ways. The story is truly legendary, feeling like the best kind of high fantasy blockbuster, and helped cement video games as a medium just as legitimate as film or TV when it came to telling meaningful stories, creating deep creative worlds to explore, and touching the lives of so many as to become a touchstone of popular culture.
Well said! Thank you, James, for putting that together. And I hope you all look forward to seeing not a brief history, but a complete history of The Legend of Zelda sometime in the future. Whenever I actually finish it. Thanks everyone so much for participating in the tournament and for watching this video. I am currently holding a tournament on the channel to determine what the greatest NES game of all time is. So head on over to that community tab and vote for your favorite games. I want to add that given the fact that Zelda games have won the last 2 tournaments, and that we will be working on that history video, I may not do a video for The Legend of Zelda if it so happens to win the NES tournament. Not that anyone should vote against the game for that reason, mind you, but that I feel it might be a bit redundant. If Zelda does win the tournament, I may just do a general video about the NES itself or something like that. But we shall see. Until next time, peace everybody.